Man of Steel wasn't a success at the box office, so why are people claiming that it was? There are so many people online now that are saying that Man of Steel was one of the biggest box office successes ever, comparing it to Superman's box office results. And that just makes absolutely no sense, because historically, if you are to look at what people were saying at the time of Man of Steel's release, it was not a box office hit. In many ways, it was actually a box office flop. Why? Because the film really was expected to come close to $1 billion. And in the end, it didn't. Let me explain. When Man of Steel came out, DC was in a golden era. We had just had the Christopher Nolan Batman films. And now they had got the guy that made Watchmen, that wasn't a very successful film, however, it did very well with critics and audiences. People liked what Zack Snyder was doing with these comic book movies of his. He was making a new Superman film, and this had the backing of Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan was involved in the making of this movie. The film came out, and it didn't crack $700 million at the box office, which at the time wasn't good. It just wasn't. Warner Brothers was expecting this film to make, I think, close to 800. If not, they were hoping for $1 billion. They definitely were hoping for $1 billion with Batman vs. Superman. You've got two of the most famous, iconic superheroes in the title of a film, and it didn't hit the $1 billion mark. So a lot of that was down to Man of Steel's performance. Look, I'm not hating on Man of Steel. I actually think Man of Steel is okay. I think there are things about the film that don't make sense. There are things about the film that I don't like, but there are things about the movie that I do like. However, it didn't capture the hearts and minds of audiences the way that Warner Brothers was hoping it would. It didn't get people excited. Why? I actually think because it didn't have that central message of hope. It was a very bleak movie. It was a very depressing film, which I think as far as superhero films are concerned, is not what you want. You want something, especially when Superman is involved, you want something that will instill hope in audiences. And that is kind of what James Gunn's Superman has done so well. And I'm not comparing the two. I don't want to compare the two. What I want to say is that Man of Steel, in retrospect, has a lot of issues and might have been the reason why we are in this place today with DC movies, because it instilled that kind of sense of doom and gloom that took over the DCEU. And they now are going completely in the opposite direction. And if you don't like that, it might be Man of Steel's fault.